And we're live. Let's go. We're back. Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is what, episode 13? Like, this is post having two different guests on the podcast, and the conversations have been incredible. I hope you guys enjoy them. We've been
Yeah.
enjoying interviewing these incredible founders.
No, it's been so cool to get to know these founders on a different level too, you know? And
These are networking.
previously, but not as much as I feel like the
Right.
conversations we've been having.
Right, right. And I think this has allowed us to really get into, and especially not just like, how did you build this? Because everyone's asking that, but it's
Yeah.
tell us about the personal side. Tell us about, it's like a little bit harder of not just trying to balance life, but like, how do you even separate your personal from your professional, especially when you're like with Dara yesterday, how your personal becomes your professional.
No, literally, I feel like she even said, wow, these questions are so interesting. Like they're so good. And it's exciting because it's like we want these founders to show up like just completely raw and like be themselves and answer questions like from their heart. Because I think that's something that's so important. That's something we always talk about, just being genuine and kind of realizing, yeah, there is a story, obviously, of why you built it, but it goes way deeper than that.
Totally, totally. Also, I love how we both match our backgrounds. You're in brown with the brown
Ugh.
couch, and in white with
No,
like, oh,
I'm wearing new pants. We can
cool.
like like how do I do it?
There we go. Oh, perfect.
From the Dose clothing swap.
That's right. Oh my God,
Not to do
wait. I love
anything.
that.
Honestly, that's a like I think they're so smart for doing that. Like
Yeah, I want to go to
basically,
one.
yeah, my friends from they own a mezcal company called Dose. They do a clothing swap every year and it was at Mia's and basically you it's just a way to clean out your closet.
Wait, I love also, it kind of reminds me of our conversation with Rebecca, where
Yeah.
like pre-love you is literally just a digital version of that.
Yeah.
Which obviously this is more one-on-one versus like creating a thrifting marketplace. But it's the same concept of like, why are we throwing away clothes or donating it? And like, I was fascinated to find out that I think it was like 83% of clothes that's donated ends up in landfills. And she's like, yeah, and on average, families donate, I think, 81 pounds of clothes a year. Like, those are numbers that clearly, it's been over a week since we talked to her. And those are numbers that clearly stuck in my head.
No, it's insane. I also think it's a fun way to bring people together and also just like
Yeah.
I got a
Be
lot of
sustainable
cool,
together.
let's be sustainable. And also it was just like such a fun like girly day. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Wait, that's actually really funny because I was on a bachelorette party this weekend and my friend is the bride is originally from Seattle, lives in San Francisco. And I forget what it was, but she was like, she made a comment and I go, we love a sustainable queen. And she was like, well, yeah, love you, but like you're from Florida, even though I'm like, I'm from Miami, but Florida does not know how to recycle, like for the life of us.
Florida needs to do better on that.
Florida really needs to do better. And so I was like, oh, are we trying to recycle this weekend? They're like, yes, Vanessa. Like we are always trying to recycle. I'm like, right, 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 right. Gotcha. I'm like, you just tell me where to put things and I'll do it. Like I
Yeah.
just need a little bit more education on it.
Yeah, no, I think well, I remember when I was in college, I lived in our college house was called Bounce House, and
Pretty
there was
cute.
like 10 of us that lived in the house. It wasn't our sorority house, it was like a satellite, whatever. And one of my really good girlfriends, she's vegan and she's all about like composting, everything. So she was like very adamant about like we're recycling, I think she even tried to get us to like compost once. I don't really know how to fucking do that. But
Wait, composted once when we were living in Wisconsin for like 5 weeks during the pandemic. And we were like, we were not on a farm, but we were surrounded by like farmland and whatnot. We're like, okay, let's compost. Everyone in the house mutually agreed. We're like, we're done with this. This smells so bad. We cannot continue to do this.
I followed the recycling. I
The
feel like
recycling makes so much sense to me. The composting, I'm like, I can get behind it if it's not in my house. Like the fact that there was like a little bin in the house, it just is scraps left over. It smells so bad. I'm like, I need something else outside that's not in here to deal
yeah.
with it. Wait, okay, so how's your week been?
It's been good.
Or
I
just
like
last week?
yeah, well, I've been dog sitting.
Oh,
And
love.
I fully moved into Tessa's place, literally. I'm like, so I have a new life. I'm in the
So I
West
have a
Village.
new life. You've become a West Village girl.
No, it's a nice Kona and I have been spending a lot of quality time together.
I love that.
No, I've honestly been. pretty like focused on just like getting studying going and getting a bunch of work done. And then I
Proud of
started,
you. You've gotten so much done.
yeah, I feel like it's been very, I was just telling Christine actually, I was like, I feel like I'm on a staycation, but still working.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, but it's been nice. I feel like I've really just buckled down. I've had some really good meetings too, which is nice. But it's been a way of just like kind of decompressing, but
Mhm.
staying like focused, you know?
Yeah, which is key. Like I feel like that's like best of both worlds. That's kind of what I felt when I was working on the bachelorette party because of we were on the West Coast and I kept waking up East Coast hours. So I was up by like 5:30, 6 a.m. at the latest. And I'm like, yeah, it's already 9 a.m. East Coast. Some of the other East Coast girls were up. So I was like, well, I might as well just get work done. And I felt
Yeah.
so productive and like it wasn't stressful. It was just relaxing to be like, oh, hey, what needs to get done? I'm by the pool outside on this sofa. Like the girls are bringing us coffee. Like it was relaxing, but I still felt like I could get a lot of things done without it interfering with the rest of my life or the rest of the weekend.
Yeah. I agree. I also have been because I feel, and I talked to you about this, I feel like I've been so behind on the AI stuff. Like I feel like
Hmm.
all these other gals are to date, especially like the Dream Ventures group, like the AI chat is popping off. I'm like, holy
Oh, I'm
moly, I'm
sure.
like actually behind. Um, I've been trying to watch videos, just like basics. I'm like, I need it to be dumbed down.
Okay.
I need
Like what? Tell
it
us.
fun.
What are the basics that you're
Honestly,
watching?
watching all the courses on Anthropic.
Oh,
So
that's
like to
smart.
get, yeah. So I honestly just like one of like the basics, you know? And so that way I don't get overwhelmed because I feel like I was having this conversation with somebody and I was like, I feel like there's so much out there that
Mhm.
I am so overwhelmed of like what I should be doing, what's next, and AI has been moving so fast. I keep feeling more and more behind. So I literally told myself, and I was talking to my friend about this, and she's like, "No, Nat, I feel the same way." And I was like, maybe we just need to start with the basics and just like, it's okay. Let's stop the comparing of like, I'm behind, but everybody else is ahead. Like, let's stop that and kind of just like recenter. So then I started with the videos.
Wait, I think that's such a good idea. It kind of reminds me of what I did not this past Sunday, the Sunday before, where I spent not getting the entire day with AI on Claude specifically, just like playing around with co-work. Where
Yeah.
it literally built us an entire carousel for socials. I
And
I just fed it a video and was like, here's a clip of what the podcast is about, and it made us an entire carousel that actually performed really well. And
yeah.
then I started using it for Vane of like, okay, how can I actually play around with some of the content? And I think not just like watching the videos, but also just like taking, say, like 45 minutes a day to be like, all right, this is my little break, and I'm going to play around with AI and watch these videos or do a new project on co-work because I'm doing a working session later today with three of my interns for Canva and specifically how to understand how to use Claude and Canva together so that we can
That's
design our social a lot faster.
yeah. No, I think well, it was very interesting because I feel like for me it's been helpful too because I've been jumping around from like uh everything with our consumer like portfolio companies to like potential new like looking at different investments to
Right.
studying, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm also planning like events, right? So I'm like doing all these things that I feel like I want to get good at creating a good workflow with Claude to be able to help me facilitate certain things when it comes to like emails and things like that, but at the same time like create a structure because I feel like
Mhm.
my mind jumping from like planning the events to then like I'm like whoa 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 I need to take a step back, so I feel like it's just allowed me to create a better flow of things so then I can actually like concentrate and not have my head go like woo like all over.
100%. Well, that I've definitely struggled with that as consulting, like similarly for so many different companies where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this project, switch your brain now to come back to your own company, switch your brain now, go to this other project. And it's really tough. And so having just like tools or something to kind of ground you a little bit in between is so helpful. And now, like, for example, just wrapped up a project on Friday or a client on Friday, which was great. Happy to kind of have had that experience, but also excited to move on to something new.
Yeah.
And with that, it's like, okay, I kind of started putting myself out there again of like, hey, I have the bandwidth, wanted to let, these groups of people know first, and I'm already getting responsive. And then now it comes to like, what are your services? But the way I've been consulting in the past has been like through friends of friends. So I don't have to have my packages together
Yeah.
versus now I'm like, wait, okay, I actually have to create a package of what my services are with the pricing. And so I'm having Claude help me do that. I'm literally like, hey, you're a consultant, like this type of consultant, help me put together packages of my services to pitch to founders.
No,
And
so smart. Also, I
yeah,
feel it's good to bounce ideas because I
right.
feel like the word consultant is such a massive umbrella that it's like you
Mhm.
gotta hone in on certain lanes and figure out what that means. And specifically for founders, I feel like earlier stage founders are gonna need different things compared to like later
Totally.
stage founders. So I think having a tool that could help you kind of organize stuff is so much more helpful.
Yeah. Also, I think one of the biggest learnings I took away from my last project was that, and I talked to my dad about this on Friday as like we were wrapping up the client. I was like, hey, like I think I realized that one of the things that kind of has made me excited to move on to the next is because as much as I loved the people that I was working with, I think I just didn't have the time commitment that they needed. And so, where I think they wanted someone that was a little bit more of on at all times. I'm running a company at the same time. I can't be on at all times. I'm going to be in meetings. I'm going to be, doing different things. And I had to learn how to protect my time a lot more and
Yeah.
really put those boundaries where I think at the beginning it was like, I'm such a people pleaser at times. And I can just say, oh, well, yeah, whatever you guys need, like I'm here. Yeah, this time works great. This time works great. And then I realized, wait, I'm taking away from what I need to be doing and what I need to be focusing on. Because now going back to shifting your brain, I was like, I don't have those 15 minutes to quickly shift my brain back to, this client to then come back to the company. And
Yeah.
I had to learn how to protect my time a lot better. And I think the only way I've been able to learn that is through doing it. And so now,
Yeah.
on Friday, I took some time to think of what were the biggest learnings I took out of this client and this project and how to apply that to the next one, right? So when I do pitch myself, it's saying, okay, this is the hours that I can work. These are the types of projects that I can be doing and actually maybe do a little bit more on a project basis versus just saying, yeah, I'm ready. I'm, available whenever, because that really did a lot more damage.
I agree. And I also think that time is so crucial that I feel like when you start with any new client, you're both learning about each other, like the
Mhm.
workflows needed, kind of like operationally how things are done. So I feel like sometimes it's good to always reflect and be like, okay, so this is how I felt. And then like moving forward, what can I do to improve and be better? And
Right.
what can I look out for so then my time isn't wasted, but I don't feel like I'm also wasting somebody else's time. And it's mutually beneficial for a growth
Right.
perspective too.
Totally, totally. I think it's like really making sure of, and I learned in consulting this past year, I've definitely learned that, when you take on a new job, and my traditional background is more in the corporate world. So it's like you have your 3 months to kind of get onboarded. You have time. It's everyone's giving you a lot of grace because they're like, oh, you're drinking from a fire hose. That's fine. Don't worry. Versus when you're in the consulting world and you're taking on projects, if I'm paying you, I'm expecting you to pick it up real quick. Like you don't have this onboarding process. You maybe have an hour or two that I'm going to pay you to like understand what we're doing and ask your questions. And after that, I expect you to know what you're doing. And so as someone who's paid consultants and now who's on the other side, of working on these side projects, it's really challenging of saying, okay, not only do I need to understand your entire business in a very short period of time, but I also need to know your ways of working in a short period of
Yeah.
time. And it's not easy. And so I think those were really good learnings that I took from this past project to be able to just like be better, to your point, moving forward.
And I think like just treating all these things as like forms of reflection to be able to move forward can only help us because then again we're experiencing different things, we're supposed to experience things how it like the universe is or whoever sends it to us, right? But I also think that it's a way for us to really understand our own work ethic and what flows better, because I feel like that's a big thing when it comes to consulting. Like everything moves quick and I feel
Mhm.
like sometimes you're kind of on this journey of just go 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 that you don't have the time to reflect. And I think that part is important. And also as you're building your company, you're also getting an insight on all these other companies that you're working with
Yep.
to see what you could apply for Vane, which I think is so fascinating.
No, that's what I was going to say. I think it was very eye-opening. And like I've always known this, but I think it's an eye-opening experience to like understand how other companies work and what you like or what you don't like and how
Yeah,
and what to apply. And I think, I was tempted to write this on LinkedIn of I think culture is such an important
it's
part of a
massive.
company. And
Yeah.
like,
The heart of
they always say, like, culture eats strategy for breakfast. You might put all the strategy into place, but if your culture doesn't actually support that, it doesn't matter. And so, what I was thinking as I've been working with different clients is what are the cultures that I appreciate as I'm coming into those environments? What are the ones that I don't appreciate as much? Because as a founder and as a leader myself, I want to take that back to my team or I want to protect my team. And there's
yeah.
actually been a lot of learnings of saying, I love that these people do this. I'm going to take this and run with it. And then there's other things that I'm like, I actually don't love that. And that's, a red flag to me as someone coming into this environment. And oh my God, I need to make sure that we don't do that for Vane. And I've
Yeah.
literally gone back to Sonia and I'm like, hey, I just had this experience, hated it.
Mhm.
What can we do to make sure that we're not doing it? And it's happened multiple times already where I'm like, hey, do you think that we do this? And she starts laughing. She's like, we definitely do. I'm like, no, we need to make sure not to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the experience that I want people to have with us. And so it's been funny to learn that not only about what I like or don't like as a consultant, but also as a leader of what type of culture I want to be facilitating and building within Vane.
No, I agree. And I also think that in a way you're realizing it firsthand, but at the same time you're applying it right away, which I think is like so crucial. And you also are learning what makes the most sense and what they needs to value
Mhm.
more and seeing it from a different perspective, which I think is so important. I think people need to be doing that because I feel like, especially in the building phase, there's so much that you take
Yeah.
on and you're doing that it can get lost. And it's not because sometimes founders don't want to prioritize it. I just think because they have so much on their plate. So I think it's a good point that you bring up that people need to be a little bit more aware of as they're building their companies.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good point in terms of there's just so much going on and it's how do you prioritize? And also letting your team know what's happening. I'm really big on transparency. And I've
Yeah.
always asked this no matter what job I have. I always ask my direct managers of like, I just want to understand what you're working on so that I can better help you, right? Or I can understand the larger vision of what we're building. And so I think especially in corporate world that matters, but things work so much slower that it doesn't matter as much and you can catch on a lot faster versus in startups, things are changing hourly, daily, 24/7. And so, what I always try to bring to my team is how do I let them in on it? How do I help them
Mhm.
understand why we're making these shifts? Hey, I just asked you to do something on Monday, and by Friday it changed. That's
No.
frustrating. I understand, but this is why we're changing it because XYZ has happened. And I
I
think that allows you to feel part of it, not to just feel like you're getting whiplash, being like dragged around.
Yeah. I think it's been so something for me personally since like I've been working with my family and stuff. I feel like we're all growing as people and obviously we're family. So there's so much intertwined that I think we've also been learning as we've been working more and more together on, okay, how can we like separate business and family when
Yeah.
it's still intertwined that I think it has been a challenge, but I think we're still figuring it out. And I think I have felt the most comfortable more recently with it because I feel like I've grown into myself. And I think it comes with just growing as a person, but fully
Yeah.
understanding my skills and the worth of what I can bring on the consumer side. And everybody kind of molded into their lane. But then it's
Yeah.
also like the struggle of like, okay, well, I also have a voice in all this. So how can we like actively, but just be more proactive at communicating stuff instead of it being, I don't want to say like a fight, but like, you know?
No, but yeah, but that's such a good point that in like because in most companies you can't really like there are fights, but you can't really fight versus in a family. That's such a different dynamic.
It's the dynamic is interesting. But also it's the importance of having like people outside of the family be involved and
Right.
also having really good communication. I think that's been so crucial for us, but I also think that it's all a learning lesson. But it all comes back to how are we going to implement things and how are we going to be proactive when it comes to communication? Like, how are we going to handle that? And also not being afraid to ask questions. I feel that's a big thing because I feel like before I was like, like I don't know what I should ask, not ask. Now I'm like, if it's coming to mind, I'm asking. It's all
Yeah,
everything's being
totally.
put on the table, you know?
I love it. No, 100%. Well, and I think that can also be said for when you're not working with your family, where I very much like I remember I was like, I don't want to come off as an idiot. I don't want to ask all these dumb questions. And I think as you get more confident in what you're doing and in your skill sets and in your experience, you start to feel, okay, those questions aren't dumb. There's a reason why I have these questions because something's not clear here.
No.
And it's worth asking those questions because if not, then later on I could make a mistake or later on I'm not going to be able to ask that question because I should have asked it already.
My dad says this all the time, and because I've listened to it so much, at the same time, it's something that sticks out to me. He's like, okay, Nat, we're sitting across the table from each other. We have two cards on the table. You see a 6, I see a 9. It's all about how I communicate to you, how, like, what I'm seeing, and the way you communicate to me what you're seeing, so then we could understand. And it's a conversation. It's your perspective and it's my perspective. And that always comes to me because I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. And every business, relationship, whatever, there's always going to be multiple perspectives of what happens or what's going on. And everybody has their own vision and their own mind racing about different things. So it's all about
Yeah.
taking a step back and just communicating it in a way where it is proactive, which I also try to think of that whenever I'm in tough situations. I'm like, okay, so they could be seeing this completely different. So let me take
Yeah.
a step back, listen to them, and figure out how we can problem solve together instead of just like, oh no, this is my way and this is the highway. There's ways that you could be way more proactive. And half of the time, it's a lot better. Another one that he always says is if you're pointing a finger, you have 3 fingers that are pointing back to you. So it's always important to make sure that you kind of take a step back and think it through. And I think when it comes to business, there's sometimes as you're building, as you're scaling, emotions can get in the way of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
So it's important to really just be mindful and take a step back.
Well, and I think also remember that at the end of the day, both people are trying to just solve the problem,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
like it's about the problem, not about each other. And how do we as a team tackle the problem?
And
You
then
know,
that
rather than
also
attack
comes with like
or fight.
building a culture to be able to make sure that that is implemented earlier on. Because once you scale a company and it starts scaling pretty quick, you're going to have more people involved. So it's like
Yeah.
you have to think about implementing it earlier on, whether you're a solopreneur, you have a co-founder, and as you're working with interns or just different contractors. So then that culture is very much like the foundation of it all instead of you having to do that way later on, because then by that point it's too late.
Yeah, could not agree more. And that's why I'm saying like culture starts at the very beginning and you have to be living it in and out. And
Yeah.
so for the rest of the company to feel that. So that's why I always say like, oh, you could have all these HR policies in place, but if the team does not see that the leaders are taking, for example, like a paternity leave or maternity leave or vacation, for example, if they don't see the leaders doing that and respecting their own time and the policies that they've put in place, they're going to feel like they can't take that
Agreed. Yeah.
or the way that you respect each other or the way that you speak to each other in meetings. I've been in different cultures where I thought it was, people just didn't like me because they were speaking to me a certain way. And
Mhm.
it became very apparent that that's just how they speak to each other as a whole. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
This is not the type of culture I want to be a part of.
No, it's crazy. And I feel half of the time some people they don't really realize that they're
Mhm.
in it because it's the norm. But
Right.
as an outsider coming in, you're like, oh, okay, so this is not like I don't know I'm not aligned with this and I don't want to do that with my company. So let me take the steps and procedures of like making sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's how we get to all these toxic workplaces, right? Where I think people don't realize because they're in so deep or they make excuses. Well, we're just moving so fast. Like, I need people to move fast. It's like you can move fast without being an asshole. You don't
No.
need to be rude. There's a way, there's a tone that you can speak to people. And I think I'm so happy to see that I think there's a shift happening within the startup world as a whole. The same way that burnout is no longer as respected. People are like, that's dumb because it's not sustainable. You can't actually be just
And
burning
there you go,
yourself.
the hospital. Burnout is like so scary.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I think it's happening not just culture as a whole, where burnout is no longer respected, and also being rude to each other and yelling at people is no longer respected because it's just not necessary.
Yeah, the way that you talk to somebody says a lot to who you are and like the way that you value yourself at the end of the day too, because it's like you're going to talk to somebody like that, then how are you talking to yourself internally? You know?
I mean, I can only imagine. How do you
It's
talk to everyone else in your life? Like that's always
no,
my question. I'm like, talk to your family like this? Oh
Oh
my
no,
God, I would hope not.
it's so bad.
We really went off on a tangent there,
We did. Um,
but a good tangent.
yeah, it's been good. What did I that and then obviously like I had a friend's birthday,
Love.
walked myself out of Tessa's
Oh,
apartment.
happened yesterday.
That was crazy.
That was
Her
great.
neighbor wanted me to like jump over the balconies to get to her place, and I was like, "What in the Spider-Man is this? I can't do that." I'm very athletic, but I feel like in situations like that, like I would
Just a
have
little
died.
different.
I would have slipped and
You're
like
like, and
fell.
so
And then
what happened?
the first thing that came to mind was like, Kona's not going to get her lunch. So, like, no, we're fine. I'm like, I'll just
You're
wait for the super. But we're good. We made it
One's not
in.
gonna have lunch. She's not gonna have people to take care of her. It's gonna be a whole
No,
mess.
Auntie
God, wait,
Casey was down. I've been taking her everywhere. So that's been nice. She's
as you
gone on.
should. She's so small. She's so small and so cute. She just fits in your bag.
Yeah. How's your week been?
My week was crazy, to be honest. I think I like between wrapping up my client to that one of my clients to then doing a lot of networking for Vane. I was nonstop last week, like truly, and then getting ready to go for a trip. You know, like it's always when you're getting ready to go for a trip, it's so tough in general
Crazy.
because you have so many things to do. But it was a lot. I felt like the week happened in like a second. But all good things. I think there's a lot of doors opening at the same time. I got introduced to two new founders that are looking for help. So I'm pitching them, trying to see how can actually use my skills to help them. And like it's interesting. I get so excited. And I think I'm realizing the types of projects I want to be working on the side, in addition to working on Vane. Because, for example, talking to Dara yesterday, all of her explanation of retail and with Amazon and talking about those ups and downs, that's what I used to do. I'm like, I understand that. And how
Yeah.
can I help? What questions do you have? I want to be able to help. Or even, I got approached by a brand that needs help with branding and retail strategy. And I was like, love this. Like, this is my bread and butter. This is what gets me excited.
Yeah.
And as a founder, we have to do so much that we don't love every part of it. Do I love the operations? No, but do I have to do it? Absolutely. There are so many things that you just have to pick yourself up and get it done versus being able to work on this on like the parts that you really love. And so when I get to help brands with the branding and their strategy and their communication with their consumer, like that's the stuff I love and that energizes me. And so it's fun to be able to work on that on the side in addition to building my own company.
No, I agree with that. And there's so many points that you bring up. And we touched on this last time about like when you're building, how much like behind the scenes stuff people don't realize, not
Yeah.
with your own company, but all the little side quests and stuff that happen. It's not talked about as much. And I actually had a conversation with one of my friends about it because I was like, oh my
Oh,
God, your company's doing so well. How's it going?
yeah.
She's like, oh, I'm actually looking for clients for like X, Y, and Z. She's like, building is crazy. And I looked at her, I go, thank you. Thank you for like being transparent about it. And she's like, no, of course. And I was like, yeah. But I also think that it's a way to get like working on side quests, projects, bringing on like working with different founders, like what you were saying, it all this retail strategy lights you up. I feel like it's good to take on things so you could one, make a living, and then two, to be able to get your creative juices flowing.
Yeah, 100%. It only makes me think in a very different way and bring that energy to Vane, bring that creativity to Vane and be like, we should be doing this. For example, all the socials that I was building for this podcast inspired me to actually do a lot of similar things for Vane and help my interns make content a lot faster or in a very interesting way. Or really like through working with Claude, I actually realized of like, oh, we might need to change what we've been doing so from a social perspective, aesthetically and creatively, because we're not really communicating what we want to be communicating. And so I was like, Claude, give me an example of what we should be doing. And it gave me something. I was like, wait, I love this. So we're like, doing a whole working session later today of like, okay, what's the direction that we need to be moving in? How do we find this kind of happy medium that maybe is not totally tech, but not totally just aesthetic and bringing that to a middle ground. But all of that to say that I wouldn't have been inspired to do that if I wasn't doing all, working on the socials for this podcast. And like, that's why we do these side hustles. That's why we get excited about these creative projects because they really just bring out another side of us that we don't get to flex every day.
No, yeah. And I think Well, one little side quest that I took on is getting back into art. And I feel like I forget sometimes how much I enjoy painting and doing calligraphy and doing
Wait,
all
what
this
do you,
stuff.
oh, right, the calligraphy. I was like, wait, what are you getting
Yeah.
back into? The calligraphy.
So,
Wait, tell
and I feel
everyone.
like, yeah, so I was an art minor and I've always loved crafts and stuff. And when was it? Like last year, I took on like a calligraphy project for actually a founder that I know for her launch. And I realized, wait, this is like a little side quest that I could take on. It's such a de-stressor for me, like
Yeah.
drawing, painting, but there's ways to make money with it, right? For events. So one of my friends was looking for somebody to do calligraphy for a dinner that she's hosting. And so I was like, hey, I'll do it. But then again, it's like setting boundaries of no, Nat, you're not going to do it for free because you got to put a boundary down. And so
Yes.
I like talked to her. I was like, what's the budget? Whatever. And because she was like, oh, can you send me like your portfolio? I was like, give me an hour. So I literally went on Claude and linked it to Canva and made like a portfolio. So I went through my camera roll and I put examples of stuff that I've done in the
Wait, that's
past.
incredible.
Yeah, so I created a quick little portfolio and she was like, "Oh, that's exactly what my client needs." And I go,
Good.
"Perfect. Cool." And then I got like inspired and I was like, "Wait, I know a bunch of people that throw a lot of events. Danny's like very in the event space now." So I text her, I go, "Hey, just so you know, like I'm doing this if anybody needs calligraphy for events. Like this is my portfolio." And she sent it to like a couple people and they were like, "Perfect, we'll keep you in mind for projects that are upcoming." And I was like, cool. I was like, I
Wait, I
feel like
love
that's,
that.
yeah. And it doesn't like too much time. It's a de stressor and it's a way to like bring in a side hustle that I enjoy and
Right.
that fuels my creativeness. Right. So I think that was fun to kind of like step into.
Wait, I love that. You see, like for me, doing this is like building a lot of my creativity because I'm not as good with my hands from like an art perspective, but I really love editing and producing and all of like the social things that I've been working on. That's therapeutic for me. What else are we missing? What else is happening?
And I went on a date, but like, bye. Yeah, he's gone. Bye.
Well, Berry Park Boys by, Art Museum Boys by, he's been by.
No, but
Well, now that I'll be in New York next week, I am supposed to be meeting up with the guy that Saranya is setting me up with. It's
we
been like
excited.
over a month that this guy and I have just been like casually talking. And he like asked me last night, he was like, by the way, like, are you still in Miami? Are you back in the city? And I was like, oh, I was going to tell you, like, I'll be back in the city next week.
We exciting.
So we'll see. That finally, after like a month and a half, can just be either a yes or a no and be like, okay, bye.
No,
Um,
literally.
so we'll see. It'll be nice. But yeah, that's really the updates for me.
I don't really have
Nothing else really
it.
exciting.
I feel like it's
We,
been mostly work.
I know, I was about to say that. Like, we're just two working girls. We pay attention to the boys when we have time for it, but we just haven't had a lot of time for it.
No.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of, like, all I keep telling myself is like, I think we're just in this grind because there's so much happening and it's all amazing, good things. And sometimes you have to just grind. And if you have time
It's
for other stuff, great.
yeah.
But if not, no.
Yeah. It's nice to go through like waves of it.
Totally. And I know also, I think it's because I haven't had as many like friends in the city. There hasn't been as much distracting me. And then I know when I get to New York, I have something happening like almost every night.
No.
Okay, well then with that, if we feel good,
Yeah.
guys, that's episode 13.
So crazy.
So crazy. We're really in the double digits and we literally should have a bat mitzvah.
I can't believe we've done it. And now we've filmed two founders and then more to come. And like it'll be a fun time.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I think this is great and can't wait for the next one. Stay tuned,
Yeah.
guys.
Well, make sure to share with your
Yes.
friends.
And if you're not
And
following us, follow us.
yeah, follow us on socials. We're fun. You can see all
You'll
the
see the
amazing
clips.
like creative work that Vanessa's been doing.
Yeah, and if you hate it, don't tell me. Or if you have some feedback or tips, then you can tell me.
Yeah. We love feedback.
We love feedback. So, all right, guys, thank you.